Okay, it is 7 o'clock. And welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee. This is our regular scheduled meeting, April 3rd, 2023. It's April. Recognize that we have full attendance by the Township Committee here in person. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, Mayor. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News Somerville, Bernardsville News Whippany, and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 10th, 2023.
Great, thank you. Please join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, time for public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to come on up, make a comment before we proceed with the rest of the meeting. We have 2 people in attendance tonight. Do we have anyone participating by telephone or Zoom? No remote?
No, I'm not seeing any, Mayor.
Mrs. Rogers, do you want to come on up?
Robin, can you check, make sure that mic is on?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll pull the chair around.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if you want us to pull a chair around.
Very short, so thank you.
And once again, since we are now doing subcaptions, your name and street. Don't need your number, just the name and street.
Okay. My name is Patricia Rogers, and I'm on Union Grove Road.
That's all we need. We don't need any more than that.
Okay. When I was here in February, you said you were going to send a letter to Mr. Coates saying that he violated the permit by having music after the time, and I was going to get a copy. And I was
Yes.
get a copy of his reply also. I haven't received anything, so I was hoping maybe you could just give me a copy today.
Robin, you have a copy of the letter that I sent him, correct?
I do.
Yeah, I do not have that. So if you have a copy of the letter that went out, John, whether you or Robin, if you can provide it to Mrs. Rogers.
Right, and you also said that you were going to give me a copy of his reply.
There was no reply.
There was none, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember saying anything about the reply. I do remember saying that you would get a copy of the letter, and if that
Well,
went
I
out
could
without
just look up
copying you,
all right.
then
I'll look up on the,
Okay.
what do they call it? You do. Okay,
no. So
I'll just wait.
how will we get that to Mrs. Rogers?
Would you like me to email it, or would you prefer mail, or I can have it at the counter? You tell me what works best for you.
No.
Email?
But email to David.
Okay, I'll get your email when we're off.
Yeah, actually, so if you want, just write your email down on a piece of paper, give it to Robin. This way, we're not putting it out for public consumption.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
And Robin, do we have anyone else on participating via remote or telephone? No?
No, Mayor.
We do have 3 sets of meeting minutes to approve: the March 20, 2023 Township Committee meeting, the March 13th Township Committee Budget Work Session, and the March 13 Township Committee Budget Work Session Executive Session at 10:55 p.m. Who goes into executive session at 10:55 p.m.?
Oh my God.
It's awful late. Any questions or comments regarding those meeting minutes?
Just that I believe both Renee and I cannot vote on the March 20th meeting minutes because we weren't present.
That was a very quick meeting, by the way, just letting you all know.
Is that saying something about?
Yeah, there was an implication there.
Draw your own conclusions.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have 7 permits and raffles to run through tonight. First is an annual seasonal farm market permit for Dish and Sons Distillers LLC, also known as Sourland Mountain Spirits. That's for attendance at the Bedminster Farmers Market, River Road, May 17, 2023 through December 9. May 17 may be a little bit early because the farmers market doesn't open yet, but you know, they want to show up early and go ahead and knock themselves out. Second is social fair permit to benefit the Willow School on May 20, 2023 from 7 p.m. to 11:59 at the Willow School. Social fair permit to benefit Seton Hall Preparatory School on May 8, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow. Social fair permit to benefit Friends of the Clarence Dillon Public Library on April 15, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. An hour 15 social fair permit at the Clarence Dillon Library. Next is an off-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit Preschool Advantage on June 26, 2023 from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Hamilton Farm Golf Club. An on-premise merchandise raffle to benefit Special Olympics New Jersey on June 19, 2023 from 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club. And the last is a golf putting contest to benefit Special Olympics New Jersey on June 19, 2023 from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club. Any questions or comments regarding the permits and raffles? Participation in the putting contest?
If I can,
If
yeah.
you can, okay. Doug, you want to ask one? Seeing no questions or comments, take a motion to approve those 7 permits and raffles.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, let's proceed with monthly report discussions by subcommittee chair. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Starting with DPW, been quite busy down there. In addition to working on the catch basins themselves, which I can personally attest to the fact that that was happening on Ski Hill Drive this morning. Also completing some paperwork for the stormwater permits as required by NJDEP and filing some paperwork with the public employees equivalent of OSHA. I guess we had our inspections of our boilers of the police department and the DPW building inspected. They passed, which is great. They've been getting the fields ready for the spring season. Good luck to the spring sports squads that are going to use those. And as you know, you may have heard, the electrical issue up in Gatehouse has been resolved. And as we were speaking about earlier today, we got the fence in up on 206 towards the pond for the safety issues up there. So, you know, again, DPW is continuing to keep a full slate of activities. Good job, Kevin. EMS still working on a date with them to talk with them about some of their budgetary issues. We were trying to get together this week. I don't know whether we'll be able to, just because one zigs and other zags, but we'll get on the same page at some point. Had a stab meeting with you, Mayor, and Administrator Ray last week. I'll leave the specifics to the administrator's report, but essentially went through the budget and went through the status of where we are with the planning of the new facility and how we're going to go ahead and get the funds dispersed from the county. So everything seems to be going very smoothly. And then last but not least, historic preservation. I had a subcommittee meeting with the land use folks last week, made some good progress. We've got some good ideas kicking around. We've reached some ideas and some consensus about how to streamline perhaps the process and make sure they're getting to the right spots quicker. So we're going to continue to meet tomorrow. We'll continue to have that dialogue. So hopefully some good will come of that and report back further in the weeks to come.
Great, thank you. I do want to just follow up on your comment, thanking DPW for the work along 202, 206. The fence looks great. The grading looks great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Kevin, I think your plans to put the wild flowers in there and some other vegetation is a great idea. So job well done. Looks great.
Great. Agreed.
Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Board of Health, there will be no meeting this month. However, the Board of Health will be sponsoring an evening of CPR and AED training on Tuesday, May 9th from 5:30 to 8:30, right here at Town Hall. This is being held in concert with Heart Saver Institute. You'll get some training, you'll get some pizza, and at the end, you'll get a 2-year certificate. The cost is $50 per person, and the registration deadline is Monday, May 1st. You can pay by check, you can pay by cash, or online via Community Pass through credit card. Updates have gone out through Bedminster Alert and social media, and we hope to see everyone there. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Did that go out via, that went out through Rave?
That went out through Rave just last week.
And that's just checking real quickly. That's on
Tuesday, May 9th.
Tuesday, May 9th, and that's on the website as well?
Robin, has it gone up on the website yet?
It was supposed to have been on the website.
May not be on the website yet. We should get it up there, though.
It's on Community Pass.
I know it's on Facebook, because I reposted it a couple of times. And I know you definitely got it out on Rave.
Yeah,
We'll double check that.
and we do have on the website the New Jersey American Water flushing,
Right.
which at this point should be over for Bedminster, so we probably take that down and then
We
move.
have this scheduled to end on Friday.
So we can swap them out. There you go.
Okay. All right, thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Real quick, this month's EC meeting has been canceled. There wasn't much going on yet this time of year anyway. And with JVH, they are putting together, it's going to be a short video that'll match up with the cantonment model. So they're passing around some scripts to get that done. They have a grant for that. So that was really good on their part. And so hopefully in the next couple months that'll be done, and that'll match up with the cantonment, and then I have to get you guys in to see it. Promise me. And that's all I
It
have.
looks like there's been some activity out at the JVH house. Do you know it?
I don't know.
I've just seen vehicles parked out there. Just wondering if they're doing work.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I do know that because we had mentioned that the electricity and the gas charges this year were significantly higher than previous years. Derek, one of the trustees, has been going around talking with different vendors and checking out the house. So maybe that's
Okay,
what it
maybe
is,
that's it.
to seal up some of the holes and maybe fix the bottoms of the doors to seal up some of the leaks and give us a
Good.
better deal on the electric and the gas.
Good idea. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a rec advisory board meeting last week. So just some of the highlights from some of the programs that have taken place. In basketball, the sixth grade boys travel basketball came in second place in the Silver West Division, and they moved up to the Gold Division for JBL playoffs. And the seventh and eighth grade boys finished second place in the eighth grade Bronze JBL playoffs. Currently, the spring programs are taking place. Art and music, cooking are at the school, after school, fly fishing workshop, soccer clinics, and some science programs. And adult volleyball began with 35 people signed up to play adult volleyball, which is very cool. Registration for Camp Bedminster, it began on April 1st. And usually certain camps will fill up almost immediately, like the Traveling Teens Camp. And I'll have a better idea of registration probably next meeting. And the Easter egg hunt will take place this Saturday at noon at the Far Hills Fairgrounds. They're planning a movie night in late August. Fall Fest is already scheduled for October 28th, and the trunk or treat for November 4th. So those are
Wow.
the updates. Yeah.
That's,
Thinking far in advance.
that's a lot. And just want to follow up on one issue about the boys travel team. Congratulations. And also a special thank you to all the coaches
Absolutely.
who have worked all season, putting the teams together, taking them through the entire season, and just want to recognize them all here, and especially our very own Coach Stevenson.
Absolutely.
So well done, you guys had a great year, and well done, just well done. Thanks again.
Appreciate that.
So from my perspective, Land Use Board, I think we continue to have the discussions on the master plan and specific issues. We currently have no pending applications, so there are no hearings scheduled. There is a meeting of the Land Use Board for this week and the following week. I know that there's going to be some absences, so we'll see if they proceed, but if the Land Use Board does meet this week and next week, once again, it's not going to be on hearings, it's just going to be on consideration of master plan issues. And just as Doug reported back on the signage subcommittee, I'm sure that there'll be a report back to the entire Land Use Board on the signage subcommittee as well. Farmers Market, we did have another meeting, and we're getting closer. It's April, so we've got a little less than 2 months to go before the Farmers Market kicks off, and it does look like everything is falling into shape. Some new vendors have applied, and we're very excited to see it start, and we're still taking applications for participation at the farmers market, so that'll keep going on. There was a mention earlier about emergency management. I believe, Colin, you and I have an emergency management meeting coming up at later this month.
Yep.
And so I'm not sure if we have a meeting before then, but we'll certainly be reporting back on OEM issues. And I think that's what I have from my subcommittee reports. Ms. Ray, may we please have the administrator's report?
Yes, Mayor. Committeeman Stevenson mentioned that last week several of us attended the STAB meeting, which is the Sewer Transmission Advisory Board with PPAC Gladstone and Bar Hills. And the 2023 STAB budget was presented. I will tell you that we are down 5% this year for the STAB budget, and all these municipal participating members voted to approve that budget. I also attended right after, later in the afternoon, an EPA grant seminar, which was on the community funding grant that Bedminster Township was awarded through the congressional Congressman Malinowski last year. That's the 1.146. We did find out that regardless of whether we're congressional earmark, I did get further clarification today, we still have to take a cash match, which is 20%, but I did find out from the auditors that we could use the first grant we received to pay the cash match for the second grant. So there
Great,
is a
that's good
second-
news.
There is a second application process, however. So I've already reached out to the sewer engineer. And,
So a grant is not necessarily a grant.
it's another grant application.
Okay.
So that's to come. We have, let's see, also I should tell you that Terry Van Ellen actually retired on Friday, and she left for Florida today.
Oh, nice.
So moving on to a new chapter in her life, and
Wow.
everybody got together and wished her well. And last but not least, we just tripled and quadruple checking all of our budget figures, and I'm pleased to say that we are pretty much done tying it up in a bow and present it to the Township Committee at the next meeting, so.
Okay, so we still have some work to do in the budget,
We do,
but hopefully one more meeting and we're done?
correct, that's the plan.
Okay, let's stick with that. We'll stick with that plan for now until we don't, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Let's see, we have no ordinances scheduled for public hearing. We'll proceed. We do have 3 ordinances to introduce tonight. And the first ordinance that we are introducing is ordinance number 2023-002, and this ordinance amends the Township of Bedminster Code of Ordinance and repeals 13-605.2 entitled Flood Damage Protection, and adopts a new 13-605.2 Flood Damage Protection Ordinance. It adopts flood hazards maps, designates a floodplain administrator, and provides severability and with a new effective date. So just for some very basic background, this ordinance is being triggered by a change of DEP regulations and the classification of Bedminster, what tier we are for purposes of flood management. And this ordinance is being put together by our township engineer and our floodplain administrator, Paul Ferrero. So, Robin, when we do the public hearing for this, will Paul be available to walk us through the changes to the flood damage ordinance?
I'll reach out to him.
Okay. And if we do introduce this tonight, the public hearing will be when? And while you looked at it, John, do you know if this requires going back to the land use board?
If it's a land use ordinance, yes.
So at 13-605.
That's land use.
That's land use?
Yeah, you got to send it over there.
And 107.1 addresses variances, it talks about land use and what it's got to do. They should opine on this.
Okay, so,
Sorry, Mayor, I just got this later this afternoon, so I wanted to go ahead and put that forth for introduction. If we were to do it without the land use board, it would be April 17th, but obviously we're gonna have to.
now, so there is a chance that the land use board will meet, so that over, whether it's this week or next week. So even if they meet just for the consideration of this ordinance, I think we can still schedule it, the public hearing for April 17th. So let's work with that. Let's go with the public hearing for ordinance number 2023-002. That being said, we have motion to introduce that ordinance.
So moved?
Second.
There'll be a roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is ordinance 2023-003, an ordinance appropriating $147,300 from the sewer utility capital reserve account for various equipment for the Bedminster sewer utility. And if we introduce this tonight, the public hearing will be April 17th. And similarly, could we have Rodney McCathern available on April 17th to walk through the appropriations?
Yep, well, I'll make sure I reach out to him.
Okay. And with that, take a motion to introduce ordinance number 2023-003.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote again, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez, I'm sorry, Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
And Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Thank you. And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the last ordinance that we're introducing tonight is ordinance number 2023-004. This is an ordinance that we adopt routinely every year. This is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. This doesn't mean we are exceeding the appropriation limit, or that we need to establish a cap bank, this ordinance allows us the opportunity to do so if so needed. And if it is approved or introduced tonight, the public hearing will be scheduled for April 17th. Take a motion to approve the introduction of ordinance number 2023-004.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moraski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
And Robin, will you be available to walk us through ordinance number 2023-004 at the public hearing and just discuss the municipal budget appropriations and how the capping works?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So as I said, we have no public hearing of ordinances. We do have 3 items on the consent agenda. If any members of the Township Committee want to pull any item off for individual consideration, please let me know right now. Seeing none, take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moraski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have 2 resolutions for individual consideration. First is Resolution 2023-055. This resolution authorizes the issuance of not exceeding $832,300 in bond anticipation notes for the purpose of temporarily financing the acquisition of vehicular equipment. Ms. Ray.
Sure. So Mayor, last year we took out a bond anticipation note for the purchase of vehicles for Public Works and the Fire Department. And the bond has actually matured. So now we're just going to go back out to market and we will get another person to come to purchase a bid on the bond. And that's right, we put a cap on it so it doesn't exceed our initial outlay.
Was it called?
Excuse me?
Was it called?
No, every year we have to renew, every year. 'Cause
Yep.
it's a ban.
Yeah,
It's temporary
bans are
loan.
only
It's
good
considered temporary
for
loan.
1 year.
One
Gotcha.
year.
Okay.
It's not a regular bond, it could be a longer period of time, so every year we go through this process. So I should have been more clear.
Any further questions or comments regarding resolution number 2023-055? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moraski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the next resolution, and the final resolution for tonight, is resolution number 2023-057. This resolution authorizes the appointment of a full-time deputy court administrator in the shared municipal court. And specifically, this is Elizabeth DeBog? Okay. In the position of full-time deputy court administrator. Ms. Ray, want to walk us through?
Sure, we hired Elizabeth a little bit over a year ago. She comes to us with a lot of training, has completed all of her court administrator classes. We thought it would be great for succession planning. And so we knew Terry was going to be retiring. We hired Daniela as our deputy court administrator. Daniela has now moved into Terry's position as court administrator, and Elizabeth has now moved into the deputy court administrator position. And this just after meeting with the division, we had interviews. We interviewed 5 candidates. We had interviews with the division representatives, human resources, myself, and the judge and outgoing court administrator, Terry. And we felt that Elizabeth was the most qualified candidate. Elizabeth also met with Judge Shanahan, had to do a Zoom interview, and he also put a seal of approval on Elizabeth's appointment.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Take a motion to approve resolution number 2023-057.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
We'll take a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote again, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have, well, I'm putting up for discussion one matter of new business. I have received, and I think I forwarded to all the township committee members, to Ms. Ray and to Attorney Bellardo. We've been requested to give a letter of support for Governor Murphy's liquor license reform. I had emailed our representative at the governor's office saying, conceptually, I support it. I don't know about the township committee, but I do support it. However, I do have some questions and looking for someone to walk us through it. Haven't heard back from the governor's office about doing a presentation. However, I did earlier ask Attorney Bellardo if you could walk us, John, if you could walk us through what's being proposed. The letter that the governor's office is asking for, there's some political issues in there, but more importantly is the actual proposed changes to the liquor licensing that the governor's office is proposing.
I think the most significant one in the bill, obviously, that's pertinent to Bedminster is for the issuance of additional plenary and retail seasonal consumption licenses, restaurants and bars. As we all know, going back to the time of the Depression era, coming out of Prohibition, Title.
Not all of us remember that, John. You may.
I might remember them. But New Jersey has very strict limits on issuance of licenses for restaurants and bars, unlike some other states. You go into another state, you go into a gas station, you go into a pharmacy, it seems everyone's selling liquor and booze, all restaurants have it. In New Jersey, it's limited by population. Every time you go up 3,000 or so, you're entitled to issue another consumption license, and I think we're slightly below 9,000, correct? So if we get above 9,000, we can get another license. In Berners, we got above 27,000, so we're going out to bid for an additional consumption license as we speak. So consumption licenses are very expensive to purchase. The governor's proposal really is an economic one. He wants to bring some economic boom to downtowns. He wants to make it so that there are more restaurants and bars that can open without having to pay a huge price for a liquor license, or even to find a liquor license. The governor believes this will increase jobs as well. So what essentially they're proposing is that municipalities would still have the ability to issue consumption licenses. You don't have to issue consumption licenses, but you could decide if you want to. There would be a gradual reduction of the populations from starting in January 1 of 2024 until after January 1 of 2029. You would be able to issue consumption licenses based on a reduced population count. So from January 1, 2024 to January 1, 2025, you'd be able to issue one for each 2,700 of your population. And then from January 1, 2025 to January 1, 2026, you'd be able to issue one for each 2,430. And it continues to go progressively downward each year. And from January 1, 2028 to January 1, 2029 for each 1,771 of your population, until finally on or after January 1, 2029. There's no limitation on the combined total number of plenary retail consumption or seasonal consumption licenses existing in a municipality. So the director would set a fee, but you would be able to arguably issue as many licenses as you wish. There's also a kicker in here.
Questions now, or should we?
No, let me
Okay, you're on a roll.
There's a
Okay.
kicker, because obviously people that have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for their liquor licenses are going to say, hey, if someone can come in and get a license for a relatively nominal amount, you've just devalued my license and my investment. So there is going to be a provision in the bill that provides tax credits to existing owners based upon revenue against their taxable income. It's a rather complicated formula, and it's not so much something that would pertain to us if we decided to issue licenses, but it would also let them get some of their money back. To me, it doesn't look like it's going to fully reimburse them based upon the formula, but that's there as well. The other thing, we do have a cidery in town, as we all know, and other part of the bill is going to have less limits on what cideries and breweries and those entities could do. There's a feeling that there's too much limitations on those particular entities, that they have to give a tour before they could then serve. The tour would be eliminated. They would be able to serve food, work with food trucks, have various parties and social events off premises. So essentially, it would allow those entities to operate much more freely and openly, providing a better economic return, and really the ability for residents or people that wanted to visit one of these particular locations in an adjoining community to have a greater choice. So what the governor is really proposing to do is rather dramatic. It's something that for almost 90 years has not been allowed in New Jersey. It is just a bill right now that's proposed. It hasn't been passed, as we're aware. That's why they're asking for your support. And no doubt the restaurant and bar lobby, there will be substantial pushback and lobbying against this, because obviously it's going to impact their existing restaurants and bars that have licenses. But the thought is, like, I can think of a particular example around where I work in Harding Township. There used to be a restaurant there called Pierre's in the Market. It's been empty for years. The owners apparently sold their license to the Minuteman, which is across the street, at a rather low price in a fire sale. But since there's no licenses available in Harding right now, they're having a difficult time getting a restaurant to go in there because they don't have a liquor license. You can have BYOB, but this type of bill eventually would allow a municipality such as Harding to issue a license and let someone go in there and revitalize that particular building. So I think that's essentially what the governor is looking to do with this. And obviously, there's a lot of benefits to municipalities if they want to issue more licenses. Correspondingly, I guess if you like BYOB places and want to save a little money when you go out and bring your own bottle of wine, perhaps those won't be as much available if all of a sudden they get licenses. So a lot going on here, and any questions, I'm glad to try to answer. This is relatively new.
So once again, this only applies to the plenary and consumption licenses, so the restaurants.
Yeah, not
to
like
liquor stores.
Yeah, not like Colonial Liquors. They're not looking to
Okay.
expand packaged goods stores. It's really just the restaurants
Now,
and bars, obviously.
and you made the reference to that under this, the reduced population threshold, that thought you had said this, that the director, the ABC director would set the prices, or would the prices still be at the discretion, or the municipality would then say, okay, guess what? Bedminster is going to put another consumption license on the market. Bidders, come on in and
It seems to me,
Bid at that level.
I just went through this today, and it's a rather lengthy bill, that the fee for the license is going to be set by the director for rules and regulations for both the breweries, and let me just page through here and look at the plenary consumption. Beginning January 1, 2024, and thereafter, an initial state fee for this license shall be fixed by the director pursuant to regulation. And there'll be an annual state renewal fee of $200, and to a separate municipal renewal fee set by the governing board or body of the municipality in which the licensed premises are situated, which shall not exceed an amount set by the director by rules and regulations. So,
and I'm looking at the one pager that the governor's office put out, and what they describe as establish administrative prices and fee for new licenses. New licenses would be issued at progressive prices and associated fees based upon business size, which will be measured by number of employees. These prices will be reviewed and set by ABC annually. In addition, municipalities would maintain the right to assess local fees upon the issuance of a new license, with a cap on the annual renewal fee not to exceed $2,500 in order to maintain affordability.
yes, so the ability to get that big six-figure fee, so say, for example, all of a sudden we jumped over 9,000, we said, hey, let's go out for a minimum fee of, Bernard's just went out 400,000, that's public, is not going to be there.
So curious, I mean, and it'll be interesting to, I assume that Bernard's is in the auction process or the bidding process.
We're accepting bids. There's a bid package out there. There's been a fair amount of interest. They did go out, I think, a year or two ago in the 600s. Did not get any bidders. Decided to go out at 400. I believe 400,000 is the figure this time, if I recollect. And we're going to wait to see what we get, but we think we're going to get a fair amount of interest.
Do you don't think that this bill suppresses the enthusiasm to buy a $400,000?
Ask me in a few weeks when the
Right,
clerk over there opens the bid.
that's why I think it'll be very
so,
interesting to see that proceeds.
Probably was a factor in deciding to go out at this time rather than wait.
Right. I'll just say, I'm going to give kudos to Governor Murphy for taking this on. While the details have yet to be fully fleshed out, I mean, we've John's gone through the proposed bill, and I've gone back and forth with the governor's office. I did actually ask the governor's office if there was any details they could provide us on how existing license holders could be compensated. And if you've had a license for 50 years, maybe you don't get as compensated as someone who just bought one for $400,000 in, April 2023.
I should also add that the bill will eliminate the ability of someone to keep a license in their pocket.
Right, I see that on the one page.
It's kind of a use it or lose it after a while, and it can be revoked if you don't do anything with it, because they don't want people just to buy these and then just not use them.
Right, what on the one pager, they described it as the repatriation of inactive licenses to boost availability. So I'm not necessarily there yet to give the letter of support, but I'm getting there. And we do have, John, as you said, our alcohol license laws and regulations are archaic. They go back, they are inconsistent with practically every other state, including on the sale at liquor stores and elsewhere, but certainly for restaurants and bars. It doesn't necessarily make sense in today's market, but we do have some expertise on this dais. So Renee, do you have questions, or comments, or have you guys thought about it from your perspective as
I haven't-
wine wholesalers?
I haven't heard anything from my boss about any of this. They don't tend to, but I thought it'd be interesting to get some deeper explanation from John to go to her to see what she thinks. Because for our business, it would be great to have more liquor
Right, I was
licenses
going to
out
say,
there.
I would just assume that
So-
from that end,
Yep.
that it gives you more customers,
Yep.
more restaurants or bars, that it certainly gives them the opportunity to do so.
And with the licenses being more flexible, that will give our customers a wider audience.
Right.
Farmers markets, tasting rooms, stuff like that, that they may not be able to do right now.
And certainly within, let's just take a quick look in our two centers, right? Pluckman, we have the project, the Cary project, we anticipate some construction activity beginning in 2023. Those 160 residential units and the retail on Fort Mills. We also have some restaurants that have turned over, Luna Rosa being one of those. We have where Desiderios and Before That Country Picnic was approved by the land use board for an expansion. Hasn't happened yet. So within Bedminster, I could see there being some value. And I think with the 2,700 increment, right? So if it's per 2,700, I think our last, the census put us at 8,400. Robin, does that right? That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
So 2,700 increments, that would put us at 3.
Yeah.
And right now we have 2 with
Right.
the Pluckman Inn and Delicious Heights. Now, I've not heard from Delicious Heights or the Pluckman Inn. They may have a different view of this. And certainly we do know that the restaurant and bar lobby is exceedingly strong in New Jersey, which is why these changes have not happened to date. So once again, I do credit Governor Murphy for pushing this forward. In my estimation, this is an improvement. But certainly, once again, I'd like to hear from all the township committee members tonight.
Okay.
You all have opinions. It's not like you're shy.
No, I think it would be really good for businesses that currently are BYOB, even in our own town, like Trattoria Mediterranean or whatever, right? Like it's a bustling restaurant, and it would just be even more flourishing with a liquor license, right, instead of BYOB. So I think that would be beneficial to businesses that already exist, and then also, maybe businesses that are struggling or change hands. It would also, help them out a little bit more, probably. So I think it's a great thing.
It sure would add to the competition. I mean, if Delicious Heights knows that there's another couple restaurants down the street that also have liquor licenses, they're not the only game on this end of town, they might have to do something a little different, get a little more creative. I mean, I already love that they put the outsides out, for in the nice weather, from COVID, they've kept it going. But maybe they'll get a little more creative, do something more fun.
I was just going to add, in addition to my colleagues' comments, I think it's welcome news about the cideries and breweries because, as John, you alluded to, you have to jump through hoops right now.
Right.
It's crazy. So, and that was just passed recently, wasn't it? Within the last year or so, they amended some of that?
They did change some of those regulations. I know someone that has, I think it's a Lone Eagle brewery down in Flemington, and I've talked with those owners about, all of the hoops that they need to go through,
Right, like you said, with the
even with
tours and the
with
tasting.
food truck and,
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, so this would be a welcome
Right,
change.
and the current rules make a distinction between breweries, distilleries, and wineries. So I mean, even the one pager talks about that. It sort of lumps them together, but having talked to our vendors at the farmer's
Right.
market, breweries fall into one category, the cidery falls in with the wineries, and the distilleries fall into another category. Maybe at some point, there were good reasons for all of that. It's hard to look at it in today's world and see why those distinctions remain and why the restrictions on those businesses are in effect. Councilman Stevenson.
Yeah, personally, I don't care. I really don't. I'm not a big drinker. My wife drinks stuff that no one else will drink. It's Moscato. No one else drinks it. It's too sweet. So we tend to go to the BYOB stuff, just so we can control what we're drinking. But I do support updating laws and getting rid of archaic stuff that just does not work. So, for all the reasons that have been said, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Bernard's bidding process goes, because I think with that law in place, a $400,000 expenditure that might just get you a year, because if you go to 2,700, at 27,000, you're picking up another license, and that second license or that 10th license may be cheaper than this 9th license.
Well, to Committeeman Stevenson's comment, just having gone out recently, seems like a couple say to us, oh, let's go to Bistro 73, you could save money, you could, bring your own bottle, and it seems whenever we go there, the place is just packed.
Right.
Because say, go to some other place up the street, I won't mention the name, and they bring out the wine list, and the cheapest bottle is like $80 or something. You're just like, come on, So yeah, it might provide more competition, because that $80 bottle, lowest price of wine, if you have someone down the street that's at 15 or 20, then maybe it's not 80 anymore.
Which is a good thing.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
Sort of.
you don't necessarily, a lot of restaurants and in some other places, you don't have to have a liquor license. So you can still be BYOB, right? That's certainly an option. And they're not getting rid, at least the proposed bill doesn't get rid of the population thresholds. It just reduces them. So there's still going to be, we're not going to be able, if this law were to be in effect
Until
right now.
2029.
Right. So in 2029, things will change, but once again, if the law is adopted, but once again, you're not obligated. And by the way, municipalities are not obligated. My read is that this still is the licensing is still at the discretion of the municipalities.
Absolutely correct. So a dry town like Far Hills could still decide they want to be a dry town.
Right.
Or another town says, we think we have enough. We don't want to promote more of restaurants or whatever. They don't have to go out, but it gives the ability, particularly some of the more urban centers that are looking to revitalize their downtown, and gives the ability of those to bring in more restaurants and bars, and correspondingly workers and employees that would be needed in the service area.
Okay, good conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, for jumping on
Yeah,
that
very,
right away from this
very,
morning.
very interesting bill.
Yeah.
I just remembered in some other states, going into a CVS to buy toothpaste and turning the corner and seeing a full plethora of like wine and liquor at a drugstore of all
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, Florida.
You scrap the toothpaste and grab a bottle?
Flabbergasting.
Used for both.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's supposed to be a health store. It's
Well,
CVS.
at some point, right, so this is just dealing with restaurants and bars. At some point, perhaps the packaged good licenses will also change. So once again, drive to another state. You've got some states where, you've got the state liquor stores, New Hampshire being one, Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania.
has
Yeah.
liquor
Thing.
stores, but you can also get beer and wine
At a different place.
at a different
Yes.
place. And then
They're all over
you've
the
got other
place.
places where, beer and wine, as you said, could be at the gas station, could be at the convenience store, could be. So we still have a little bit to go as far as renewing or updating an entire slate of alcohol consumption laws. Let's go to old business. DOT improvements, Pluckman signage. Ms. Ray.
I reached out to Meredith again. 2 or 3 times a week, still no word from the other group of engineers on Pluckman signage.
And we may be expanding that to also Bedminster signage, since we still have old, I don't want to say archaic, but we still have old signs that are out of date. And one of the things that often happens is that DOT puts new signs up and they don't take the old signs
The
down.
old side's on it.
So that's something that we just keeping on for old business. Utilities, Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have some updates.
We have updates on Utilities, Committeeman Hickey.
What time's tip off?
Is it in jeopardy?
No. I will start with JCP&L. We had our working group meeting last Thursday with our JCP&L rep, Yolanta Maziarz. A couple of updates. There was engineering analysis performed after our February meeting with JCP&L. It did not reveal any systemic issues with the power distribution network in our immediate area, despite multiple power outages over the last 6 months. For example, we suffered a major outage last October in the hills, but when you trace back the root cause, it was a tree down on a transmission line in Branchburg and a subsequent delay in JCP&L getting traffic control out and on the scene. We suffered another significant outage in mid-January caused by a transformer fire that was also in the hills. That was due to animal contact. In this case, a squirrel was looking for a warm place to nest. Did not end well for the
Why
squirrel.
didn't you say it like that?
Sorry, but that's the reality. It was warm, really warm. That does, however, bring up an issue that we've been working on over the last year, which is the poor condition of a number of the switches and transformers throughout the hills. You may recall those pictures of that switch with the tape wrapped around it, some other rusting transformers in Village Green that we shared at our February meeting. The good news is all the boxes in the hills have been inspected by JCP&L over the last year, and those in need of a replacement have been identified. The bad news is the supply chain. The supply chain issues are preventing replacement to date. JCP&L is exploring different options, but has informed us that we're likely looking at the summer before the replacement inventory is available and the work can begin. So in progress, but there is a delay. On a better note, Wood Duck Pond has now received their compensation check for the laterals they had to replace last year. Recall the presentation in February, JCP&L fully acknowledged that these laterals are their responsibility. On another note.
Well, let's just say,
Oh, go ahead.
let's just say, so let's talk about the impact, certainly to Wood Duck Pond, but also to all the homeowner associations.
Yep.
In Bedminster, and maybe not just in Bedminster, but
Oh, no, it's just not in
maybe
Bedminster.
beyond.
Yeah.
And this is because of you.
Yeah, I mean, look, we press the issue with JCP&L.
No, you can say we all you want. This is because you pushed this issue with JCP&L, and after 2 or 3 times being told, yeah, we're looking at it, that's not what it says. The laterals belong to the associations, not our responsibility. You pressed them, you did the research, you made them look at their own agreements.
Yep.
And finally they came back.
Yes.
So you can say we all you want.
All the way home.
Yeah, but that was you pushing this issue. You getting the money to the Wood Duck Pond Condominium Association, but also laying the groundwork for the repairs at all the other associations in Bedminster and beyond. So thank you very much.
No,
for all that work.
thank you, Mayor. I appreciate those
Here.
kind words. Thank you. And the good news is, as the Master Association meetings have been occurring, they've been getting the word out to each one of the associations so that they're prepared. If there is an incident, here's what you have to do. And by the way, it's on JCP&L. And again, as you mentioned, it's not just Bedminster, it's obviously Basking Ridge section of the hills as well, and presumably even beyond that to other condo associations throughout the state. So, but we'll let JCP&L deal with that. I've also talked in the past about the fact that we always get complaints about customers having to report in an outage to JCP&L before they take action. That issue should start to be addressed later this year with the installation of smart meters. We're among the first in the state who should hopefully receive them. That upgrade should improve response and repair times, because now they're not waiting on the phone calls, they're seeing it in real time, and then they can dispatch that much quicker.
Of course, having said that, when we had that outage on Saturday morning, the first thing I did was text all of you guys.
Yes. Are you out? Are you out? I'm out.
Yeah, Bauer, we're out.
Wait for the smart meters, hopefully, again, later this year. Just also talking about local outages, Yolanta agreed to research some of our frequent flyers, which are those folks who seem to suffer more outages than most. The working group has provided names and addresses based on our own local knowledge to help determine if there is a common threat or cause. Yolanta's going to go back and do a little more research on our behalf. And finally, JCP&L is looking to donate trees as part of its Earth Day initiative and asked if we would be interested. I said, we have a tree guy. So wondering if they might work with Whit Parker and the EC. We can make that connection, and
Absolutely.
you know, they're saplings. Can reach out to Kevin, you know, I can.
Yeah, put some behind the fence, we just put in.
Great.
That's right.
This tree going in the easement. It's going to be cut down in 12 years.
Oh.
Where are they putting them?
Well, that's what they're asking us. They're saplings, they're not big trees. So if they want us, that's why they're looking to local ECs, DPWs. You need the trees, guys, we got trees.
Nice.
So I'll work with Kevin, I'll work with EC to coordinate.
That's a great idea, that, right there behind the fence.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Good job, Kevin.
there you go.
So is that it for utilities?
No, we have
there's
more.
But
There's
wait,
more.
there's more?
What time is tip-off?
It's halftime.
It's already, sorry. All right, Altice, we'll start with some good news. And Mayor, this is an answer to your question after my last update. About half of the access agreements have made it through the process, meaning the agreement has been finalized. Altice has signed the agreement, and the association has either countersigned or that signature is imminent. Recall, there are 22 separate agreements that need to be executed throughout the Bedminster section of the hills. The other half of the agreements are still in the stage of paperwork and comments going back and forth, but realize most of those entered the process later last year. So that was the good news. Now the big news. Altice is not waiting for all 22 of those agreements to be signed.
Right.
The Bedminster Big Dig starts this week. Altice Fiber is coming to the hills.
Amazing.
All right?
Nice job.
Good news. Realize this is the culmination of a process that we all started over 2 years ago when we hosted Marilyn Davis, the VP of Government Affairs at Altice. She appeared in front of us, at least via Zoom, on February 1st, 2021. So construction will now begin in those neighborhoods who have executed their agreements, beginning in Hills Village North. Cortland is first up. Construction began today.
Wow.
I actually went out to the site and talked to the site supervisor briefly. That construction is anticipated to last about 4 to 6 weeks. The rest of the initial schedule is as follows. Wynwood will start on 4/24. Wood Duck Pond starts on or about 5/15. Four Oaks starts on 6/12. Knollcrest starts on 7/3.
Wow.
As more neighborhoods sign up, they will be added to the back end of the construction schedule. Altice is also working on a plan for reaching the Bedminster neighborhoods that require access through Berners Township. So for example, Parkside has signed and executed their agreement, but in order to get to Parkside, you have to go through Berners Township. So they're going to reach out to Berners to make sure they have the appropriate approvals. So suffice to say, this is an exciting time. It's a once-in-a-generation upgrade to a network and a system that, let's face it, many of our residents rely on a daily basis. So,
Absolutely.
good news.
When you go back to the TC meeting where we had Marilyn Davis participating via Zoom, you know, I forget, we have about 90?
170, I look back at my notes.
170?
Now realize that was some Basking Ridge spillover.
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
no,
Yeah,
and
but
there
yes.
was a fair amount of folks from Basking Ridge.
Yes.
And certainly we had issues and had been going back and forth with Maryland even before that.
Right.
But hosting that meeting, promoting that meeting, and then, as you know, we talk often about this. Hey, we didn't just have the meeting. Great, we had a meeting. Look at us.
Done and dusted.
We're done with it. Put it on the shelf. We'll forget about it. The meeting was not the end, but it was the beginning. And by pushing and pushing and engaging with the condo associations, many of whom at first balked.
Yeah.
And weren't necessarily being sensitive to their own constituents.
Right. Right.
But we, and I'll use we, but really you, continued to push the residents, the condo associations, and constant engagement with Altice to bring fiber in. And the fact that shovels are in the ground today is a testament to the diligence that you've dedicated to this issue.
Thank you.
So once again, job well done, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And is that all you have?
That's all I got. Doug has to go home.
Okay.
He's got a basketball game.
Tip off 9:20, so we still have an hour. Pluckman Park Housing, I don't believe there's any updates or further communications with the owners of the facility.
We have a call tomorrow, right?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor. No.
But no updates from the owners
Not yet,
themselves.
no,
Okay.
but we do have a call.
Okay. With that, we do not have an executive session, so we can go to Township Committee comments. We'll start with Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't going to have any comments, but then you started going off about Collins, so I figured I should be saying something too. And what I'll say is what I've said in the past, right? Getting the utility company to come in to the community and upgrade the network at a point where folks now are working from home more consistently, even though the COVID restrictions are being released, they're more reliant on that. People are unplugging, getting out of cable, getting into, seeing their television, getting that experience through the internet as opposed to cable. It's a game changer. It's unbelievable what you've been able to do and moving mountains. And, I'm just privileged to sit next to you. So great job.
Thank you, Doug.
Committeeman Hickey.
Mayor, I have no comments, just to say thank you.
Committeewoman Mareski.
And as always, Mayor, Doug and Colin always steal every word I could ever come up with. But Colin, thank you so much, especially from someone who lives in the Hills. You did a great job sticking with this project. And I know some of the boards up there can be a little tough to reach, but it's a great job and we appreciate it. It's going to be a great addition to all our homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Yes, Colin, your actions speak more than any words can. So thank you for everything, Colin, for president.
Happy to stay right here.
Yeah, I also wanted to just congratulate Terry again on her retirement and also wish Danielle and Elizabeth success in their new roles. And that's all.
Great. Thank you. It is 8:09. I'll take a motion to adjourn for the night.
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
What's that?
or draft sharks. Or draft.
Jeff Johnson.